Hello and welcome to Mindful Youth Engagement. I'm Meredith Marine, and today I'm going to talk about moving from role relationships to real relationships with youth. Kids need to know that you care about them before they're going to take any advice from you or listen to what you have to say. In fact, they may hear what you have to say, but in order for them to implement whatever you're asking them to do into their own lives, they need to understand that you care what happens to them, that you're offering advice out of a loving, caring, authentic place. We cannot underestimate the role that language plays in framing our experience of the work we do with youth. Many youth programs are framed around the idea of mentorship. Mentorship is typically described as a formal relationship set up between a youth and an adult in order to help the youth achieve their goals or to help them in their development. In a mentor-mentee relationship, the mentor has the power, and the mentor is empowering the youth-mentee. I once heard mentorship described as a bowling alley with bumpers, where it's the mentor's job to act as the bumpers and to guide the youth to the right direction to knock down the pins. In the role of an ally, the adult isn't guiding the youth. Rather, the adult is listening, and the adult is learning with the youth and working with the youth on a mutual project or working with the youth to achieve goals that they have set the agenda for. I was once facilitating a workshop, and an adult raised her hand and asked, "Well, one thing you haven't touched on is that adults do have more experience than youth. And how can you discount that youth are meant to learn from adults?" And her question was, should we as adults really not teach youth what we've learned from our experience in the world? So my answer was this: adults do not have more experience than youth. Adults have different experiences than youth. I have lived for 28 years on this earth, and I may be working with a 10-year-old who has experienced a larger variety of diverse experiences in different states or countries than I have in my 28 years. Now, none of this is quantifiable. Who are we to quantify someone else's experience? What our role as adults is to share our authentic experiences with the youth, and more importantly, to share what we learn from them. And they'll gain from it what they choose to. Often we think that we're teaching a lesson, and perhaps the youth are taking from it something totally different, and that's okay. Working with youth is about building a relationship. Adults are used to hearing that experience equals power. That's how it works in the corporate world. When we go out and we put words on our resume, we're talking about why the experiences we've had qualifies us to fulfill a certain role in the career or in the society that we're working within. So it's understandable why adults feel that experience brings power, but when working with youth in a mindful way, we need to keep our power in check, and we don't use that experience just because we are told by external forces that it's valuable, where in fact, experience is not quantifiable. Experience in the world is very personal and something only the person who's experienced it can truly understand and learn from. So we talked about more experience versus different experience. And different experience is the way I like to frame it. Framing this as a different experience also allows the adult to learn from the youth. And this adjusts the power dynamics so that the youth feels like they're listened to and that they have a voice. Now, I'm not knocking mentorship. Mentorship is a real thing, and it can be a fulfilling relationship. Where my concern comes in is with programs that set up artificial mentorships, where adults are signified as mentors and youth are mentees before the two even meet each other. True mentorship defies age. True mentorship happens when a person of any age identifies another person of any age and decides that they want to learn from them and decides they want to build a relationship with them. Now, moving from role relationships to real relationships starts with understanding our own view of ourselves. What roles are we in? What roles do we play in society? Myself, I am a wife, I'm a daughter, I'm a sister, I'm a program coordinator, I am an activist, a youth organizer. I play many different roles in my life. But my job as a mindful person is to accept myself regardless of whatever role I'm in at the moment. To accept myself as a person regardless of my title. Now this becomes very difficult since our society promotes roles and promotes our identification with them. When we go to networking events, we're not taught to introduce ourselves as a person, but we're taught to introduce ourselves as a representative of an organization. When I attend meetings, people are always curious about where I work, and not so curious about why I chose to work there and what I'm passionate about. We need to accept ourselves regardless of our titles and allow others to know us without shame. We need to allow ourselves to be vulnerable in work settings, which can be very difficult. But being a person rather than an employee or rather than a title is essential to developing a relationship with your coworkers and then with the youth that you're organizing. Youth will observe the way that you work with your colleagues and with the community, and they'll take their lead from you. Once you're able to open up and you're able to view yourself as a person, they will be able to share their experiences with you, and they will be able to develop true ally relationships and true mentorship relationships with you as a person and not as an employee standing behind a title. Please comment below and tell me a little bit about your experiences working with youth. I would love to hear how you've been able to build a meaningful mentoring relationship with youth, or how you've approached youth working as an ally. See you next time!